Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Sports Huddle. How's everybody doing tonight? We got a full slate of stuff to talk about. Well, as much as you can have when we're kind of in the off season of basketball and football. We do have some baseball and softball to talk about a little bit. We'll get into a little bit of football news as Lane Kiffin and Steve Scarsazian made some news as far as some comments about the University of Mississippi, Lane Kiffin's old school. We'll talk a little bit of James Franklin news, Brendan Sorsby maybe. We can talk college guys in the NBA draft here. And anything you want to talk about. We'll kick off the show. I'm trying to find my banner here, guys. I apologize that I cannot quite. There we go. We'll kick it off with, and we can talk about these guys or anything you guys want to talk about. Remember, these shows are your shows as much as they are mine. Obviously, at the end of the day, I have the final vote, but we're here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about within reason. We had a couple of deaths here this last week of guys who played pretty significant part in football history, including college football. Craig Morton, who was a standout at Cal, when he left Cal, he held the Pac-8 record for passing yards at 4,500 yards. He held records for touchdown passes in one game in a season. Now, again, we weren't throwing as much as we were then. He went on to become a number one draft pick of the Cowboys and later played with the Giants and the Broncos. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family today. And he was a fine player, especially in college. And also Charlie Young, who was kind of a trailblazer, I think, as a pass-catching tight end in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. Later on, played with the Rams and won a Super Bowl in San Francisco. But before that, at USC, he'd won a national championship with John McKay's Trojans. So Charlie Young, along with Craig Morton this past week, have passed away, and our condolences to their friends and families. Listeners, just a bunch to I don't want to say a bunch. Hello, CA. How are you? Some news off the field. A little bit different than what we've had to talk about here in the last several weeks, which is, lawsuits for extra eligibility, new eligibility rules, blah, 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 blah. Transfer portal. We got a few coaches that are stirring some things up. Lane Kiffin talked about this week about how hard it was to go and talk to the grandparents and even parents of young black men and get them to come to Oxford, Mississippi, and how different it will be at Baton Rouge. He kind of walked that statement back the next day. But again, I'm pretty sure there's probably some truth in that, I would think. It's 2026, I realize, right? And, Jim Crow's dead, but there's still, a lot of rebel flags flying in the South, and Mississippi specifically. So I can see where that may have been a problem. I think you want to probably address it a little bit differently, Lane. And on the same topic of the University of Mississippi, Steve Scarsazian said this week that, some of the guys that they're recruiting, basically, the guys that are going to the University of Mississippi wouldn't be going to Texas, because to go to University of Mississippi, you basically only need to pass basket weaving to graduate. Again, I don't have any numbers on the University of Texas and their football players' graduation rates, but we'll take him at his word. And interestingly enough, Mississippi will play both of these teams this year. If Lane Kiffin, there wasn't already enough in the Lane Kiffin bucket to make this game interesting, he's kind of starting to ratchet it up a little bit. And Steve Scarsazian, these are two teams that theoretically could be competing for a national championship. Three teams, I guess, when you talk about LSU, Texas, and Ole Miss. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. I mean, Ole Miss, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Yes, they did a great job filling the gap when Kiffin left and a bunch of coaches had left with him. I remember Charlie Weiss Jr. did stick around for the college football playoff, which made a big difference. I mean, I just think you're going to see a drop in the offensive production, and it's going to hurt guys like Trinidad Chambliss, who Jack Hirsch loves as being one of the higher draft picks next year. I personally don't see it. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how they carry over. It'll be good defensively. We'll see how good they are on the offensive side of the football, though, is going to be what I think is kind of interesting here. We'll see how that works out. Also, the running back from Missouri, and it's not Missouri, Keith, so stop saying that. Hardy, he's out of the hospital now after getting shot at a concert here over the weekend. Great player. And again, it doesn't seem, I don't know what the details are of this. I think he's supposed to be okay for 26. He was a Doak Walker finalist last year. Well, and now it says he's beginning recovery effort in hopes of playing again this season. He was shot in the upper leg while attending an outdoor concert at a bike club in Laurel, about 90 minutes away from where he grew up in a small town of Oma, Mississippi. So I don't know a lot of the details, and they aren't listing a lot of the details of what happened here. I don't know why he got shot, why he was placed someplace where people were shooting at people, but that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Some other interesting news around college football, and we can talk about any of this stuff that you guys want to talk about. What do you got here from UCA? A huge series in college baseball starts tomorrow, but high school regionals in Texas start tomorrow. So I'll leave you with this, and I'm going to go back to what I was talking about. Well, I'm going to get to some baseball here in a little bit for sure, as we'll be starting conference tournaments, if I'm not mistaken, right? CA and the women have started playing, or will start playing, I think, on Friday, their World Series of softball, if you will, in college sports. I'll ask you this, CA, to kind of keep the conversation going a little bit here until we get some other people involved. Is college baseball, high school baseball in Texas bigger than college football or college baseball? Let me start again. Is college baseball at a lower level than high school as far as attendance? Well, I can't say this right. Obviously, there's more people attending games. Is there more interest in high school baseball than high school? I'm saying it again. I'm having a lot of trouble tonight. Hang on. Let me take a sip of water. I think you know what I'm getting at, CA. College, one more time, Keith. High school baseball. Is there more interest in high school baseball than college baseball in the state of Texas, similar to football on a high school level as compared to college level? And again, that doesn't mean they're not rabid fans on the college level, but high school football is a whole animal of its own down there in Texas. I'm wondering if it carries over to other sports in high school, like baseball, as you had brought it up tonight. So high school regional start in Texas tonight. And UCLA still ranked number one, by the way, in college baseball. And we'll be getting to those tournaments pretty quickly, and we'll be starting the end of this month. We'll start the high school, Jesus Christ, the College World Series. So help me out here, CA. We're just struggling tonight. Oh my God! Let me just see if I can go. That's how this thing's going right there. Anyway, Tom Moore, 87-year-old Tom Moore, veteran of many seasons on the NFL as an offensive strategist, offensive coordinator, many different positions in the NFL, if you will. Coached Peyton Manning with some great notoriety early in his career, through the middle of his career. Tom Moore's 87 years old. He's going to join the University of Iowa and Kirk Ferentz' staff as an advisor. Listen, Tom Moore could run offenses, circles around Kirk Ferentz. So I hope he's going to have some input. Even at 87 years old, Tom Moore's got to be able to help this Iowa offense, which, you know, is like lost in the 40s somewhere. So hopefully that will help the Hawkeyes this coming year. Say he didn't answer me, so I don't know if he heard me or why not, but we'll see what happens there. So some interesting stuff. Dabo Swinney also says that the narrative surrounding his Clemson football team is wrong. They are not, the window hasn't closed on them. He feels that they just underachieved. They had plenty of talent, and the players and the coaches did not play to expectations or perform to expectations, either coaches or players. He doesn't think that, you know, the game has passed him or that program by. So Dabo's got his back up a little bit, and we'll see what happens with that Clemson. I think this is a this is a pivotal year for Clemson, the Clemson football program, and Dabo Swinney. He's done a tremendous job there. I mean, I believe in the 2000s, he's won the 7th most games, maybe in the 2000s, something like that, or Clemson has. And I don't think that program's done. I think Dabo, I believe there's a few more transfers in the portal that have come Clemson's way this year. I think there's a little bit more NIL investment. Not a ton, not like some of the other schools are doing, not like Miami's doing, for instance, or Lane Kiffin, or name a dozen other, 3 dozen other programs that are really heavily invested in NIL and the portal. But he has embraced it a little bit more. And I think he knows the realities are that they're not going to compete without being competitive in this part of the game, unless something drastically changes with that part of the game. And if there are limitations put on NIL and in the portal, for instance, one of the proposals by the Presidential Commission here a few weeks ago and by the coaches was to limit transfers, unlimited without penalty transfers, to one time. That was supposed to be part of the new eligibility standards that hopefully will pass before this year begins, where you'll get 5 years to play from the point of your high school graduation class, the date of that, or your 19th birthday, whichever comes first. That will eliminate the lawsuits for extending eligibility, if you will. So we'll see. Listen, I'm not somebody who thinks that this is over for Dabo and Clemson. I think, again, in the ACC, we're not talking about the SEC or the Big Ten, and I think you can rebound. And going undefeated in that league is not going to be as hard as going undefeated in either one of the 2 leagues I just mentioned. So I do think that they can turn things around there. Mark Cuban had talked about how he funded the NIL deal. Speaking of NIL, he had funded the deal for Fernando Mendoza this past year at Indiana. So that was kind of interesting news. There's also the Brendan Sorsby story continues. He's hired a pretty high-powered lawyer. In fact, the same lawyer who worked on the Tennessee case against, the case against the NCAA and Tennessee, where the players won the right for pay for play, basically, and we had to go back and reimburse a bunch of players throughout the last however many years. So the same guy who was a winner in that case will be handling Brendan Sorsby's case. Now, what that case is going to involve, I don't know. Right now, he has not had eligibility taken away. He did enter rehab for his gambling problems. I find it hard to believe that he's going to play college football again. I think the most likely path, as we probably talked about last week, for Brendan Sorsby is going to be the NFL and potentially the supplemental draft this year. But there's some hurdles to clear there. First of all, you've got to apply by June 30th. Second of all, you've got to be approved to be part of that draft. We haven't had anybody in quite some time. I want to say like maybe 10 or 11 years. There hasn't been. And if I'm wrong, somebody can certainly feel free to let me know. There hasn't been a supplemental draft because nobody's entered it. And if there has, teams haven't jumped on them, because here's the thing. It'll work just like the NFL draft, right? There's 7 rounds. So if Brendan Sorsby ends up in that draft, teams are going to have to decide whether they want to take him and that potential distraction, and that, all that baggage that comes with him on to their team and into their locker room. And if they should want to do that, where do you give up a draft pick? Because it's fine if you're the only team and you can just sit there and wait and say, well, I'll just wait. And if it's the 7th round, then I'll take him, because that's all I'm giving up is a 7th round pick in the next draft. Nobody's taking him in the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th, maybe not even the 4th round. But one dumb owner, who knows? So we'll see what happens with him as well. What else? We're going to go to some baseball here in a few minutes, but let's look at baseball right now since we don't have a lot going on. But you guys can feel free to comment anything in the world of college sports we'll talk about, including the NBA draft, because those guys are coming from college. We can talk softball. We can talk baseball. We can talk anything you want. So let's take a quick look at, by the way, I want to look at, that's not what I wanted. Why do I keep getting the scoreboard? So anyway, the women's bracket will kick off this weekend. And I'm still trying to find the bracket. I had it up here a minute ago. Now I seem to have lost it. Here it is. So the Division I softball brackets. In the Tuscaloosa region, number 1 Alabama will play USC Upstate. Southwestern Louisiana State will play Belmont, who's got one of the best pitchers in college softball at this point. Don't be surprised if Belmont makes a little bit of some noise in this tournament. Is what I think will happen. LSU will play Akron. This is in the Baton Rouge regional. Virginia Tech will play South Alabama. In the Austin regional, Texas will play Wagner, under 500 Wagner. That'll be a mismatch. Baylor will play Wisconsin. In the College Station regional, Texas A&M will play UConn. Arizona State will play McNeese. In the Norman regional, it'll be Oklahoma against Binghamton right here in New York, another team under 500. Any of these teams in New York above 500? Michigan will play Kansas in that Norman regional. In the Eugene regional, it'll be Oregon and against Idaho State, Mississippi State against St. Mary's, Nebraska, 4th in the country against South Carolina in the Lincoln regional, Grand Canyon and against Louisville in that same regional. We still got a few more here. Got a lot, man. Hold on. Where was I? Stillwater, you got Oklahoma State and Eastern Illinois, Stanford and Princeton, Arkansas. This is in the Fayetteville region. Arkansas against Fordham, South Florida, against Washington. In the Durham regional, you got Duke and Howard, Arizona, Marshall, Gainesville. You got Florida and Florida A&M. Texas State against Georgia Tech. In the Lubbock regional, you got Texas Tech against Marist. There's a New York team with a winning record. Mississippi against BU, Knoxville, Tennessee against Northern Kentucky, Virginia against Indiana, Athens, you got Georgia and Charleston, Clemson and UNC, the Los Angeles regional, number 8 UCLA, number 1 in men, number 8 in women's against Cal Baptist. South Carolina will play Cal State. In Tallahassee, you got Florida State against Stetson. Central Florida against Jacksonville. So look at this tournament has been very exciting the last few years for those of you who like college sports and women's sports. I've enjoyed watching this tremendously. For me, of the college sports I get to watch, I'd rather watch the softball. I'd rather watch the volleyball than I would, say, basketball. That's just me. Seeing a lot of great defensive plays in college baseball. Mohawk season starts, the Amsterdam Mohawks, which is a college summer league up here in upstate New York, or throughout New York, I guess, upstate, central New York, spreads out. They start June 4th to come up and watch a game with Kenny. And I'll try. I know I tell you this every year, but I will certainly make an effort. I don't have excuses of having to go to work the next day anymore, so I don't have anything to hold me up. What's the level of regional fan loyalty in Texas? How many college teams? How many NFL teams? How many I don't know about XFL. I couldn't tell you. But college? I mean, obviously, we know that Dallas Cowboy fans are rabid, right? I don't know about Texas. We're talking about professional. I don't know about the Texans and quite how rabid their fan base is. But I can tell you, college football, and I was hoping CA would answer my question, because high school football is where it's at in Texas. The loyalty and the rabidness, if that's a word, it doesn't matter. I just made one up. Is at a much higher level on the high school level than it is even on the college level, and it's very high there. I mean, you've got high schools all over in the Dust Bowl, down to El Paso, Midland, all these places that are like podunk towns. And I apologize, I don't mean disrespect to those towns, but go watch some of the documentaries about Texas football. Watch some movies like Friday Night Lights. And you get a good feel for what the world is of college football in Texas, or high school football in Texas. College football in Texas teams. I mean, look at how many you had. You had a ton of colleges, though. At D1, you got Texas, you got Texas A&M, you got TCU, you got Texas Tech, you got Baylor, you got Houston, you got SMU, you got UTSA, UTEP is another one, Texas El Paso. Who am I missing? Rice, North Texas, excuse me, the Mean Green. Sam Houston State, who just went Division I here recently. You've got FCS teams like Abilene Christian and Stephen F. Austin, Tarleton State, Texas Southern, University of Incarnate Word, which I think has got a pretty good basketball team, by the way. That's in San Antonio. So, but again, as I started to say to CA, and I wanted to get a feel, I think CA had to jump off. He was talking about high school baseball. High school football, like I said, it outshines the college, certainly the pros. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Royce Clayton, brother Royal, was a gifted college baseball player. Listen, we still see guys take the college route. Spencer Jones just got called up to the Yankees, was a great player at Vanderbilt. Tennessee, Max Scherzer, who just went on the DL for Toronto, great player at Tennessee. There's a ton of them. Go back into heyday, right? At Reggie, Sal Bando, and a bunch of others from Arizona State. Fred Lynn at USC, all in the 70s or 60s into the 70s. Just some great players came through college into the pros. I think you see more guys direct from high school now than you probably have seen ever, but there are guys who still obviously are coming from the college ranks. Alfred Anderson, former Viking and Facebook friend, was just inducted into the Texas High School Hall of Fame. There you go. Fine player. Texas is just huge as far as high school football goes. Yes, Chris, the mecca of NCAA sports. A lot of sports. CBS Radio is calling it wraps, I believe, before the end of this month. CBS News, CBS Radio in general, including the sports broadcast, will be out of business after. Geez, and it's really sad. I'm a radio guy. And radio's dying, but I'm a radio guy. I go to bed at night listening to some of the late night radio shows still, and have since I was a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, I listened to Larry King, and later on, not quite a kid, I listened to Art Bell. Now I listen to Clyde Lewis, and I listen to who took over for Art Bell. Oh, isn't that terrible? I know, Rob. Jeez, I just had his name. I lost it. But CBS had some great stuff on late nights. CBS Radio Mystery Theater, really, really good stuff. I'm telling you, I own the whole collection on CD, so I don't. Well, CD players laying around anymore. Once in a while, I'll stick it in my computer and listen to a couple episodes, or you can listen to it on iHeartRadio. Old school, just like I'm an old soul. You know, just like the old mystery shows on radio before we had TV. I don't remember that personally. Jack Hirsch probably does, but I don't. Byron, Byron hooked you up with Alfred Anderson, possible interview candidate. Why, are you looking for a job? I'm just kidding. Yeah. Probably not through the summer, Rick. I'm probably, we'll it's still under consideration. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes, because I don't want to disappoint you. But I can't say yes just because it won't disappoint you. Right now, I'm just too busy to really chase these guys. And busy, I mean a good busy. Because every day the sun shines, I'm on the golf course. And I'm not going to be getting ready for interviews that may or may not happen. Again, I've been left with a bad taste this last go around, so we'll see. Well, I may get back into it. We'll see. I've still got some guys. In fact, the first thing I would do is probably go get some of the guys that didn't come through, because I've got my shows prepared for those guys. I could do them tonight. But, you know, through the summer, I'm just not going to spend a lot of energy on that topic other than considering it while I'm standing over a putt on 15 for to win a Nassau or skinned, and you know, maybe we'll be thinking about that. George Norrie, thank you so much. I'm glad I'm not the only nighttime guy. Love George Norrie, by the way. He's getting old too now, though. I don't sleep a lot, right? So when I'm not sleeping, I put it in my ear and I'm listening to America Coast to Coast. And by the way, I don't know, this isn't college football related or college sports related, but that's fine. We'll get back to some of that in a second. You may or may not know this, Chris, but on Saturdays from 10 to 1, they play Somewhere in Time with Art Bell. So you get some of the best of Art Bell shows from 10 to 1 before America Coast to Coast comes on with their weekend host. Sometimes George does the Sunday night shows. But mostly there's weekend people. Good stuff, though. I don't know if you like George Norrie, you might like Clyde. And Clyde Lewis hasn't been on much because he's got some health issues right now. They've been playing best of. But I found Clyde Lewis about, I want to say 20 years ago. And he's been all over. He was on WGY here locally for a long time, but now I listen to him. I listen to him on his website. He's out of Portland, Oregon. There's some weird stuff, right? A lot of paranormal stuff. Black flag operations, a lot of conspiracy stuff that makes me laugh. And listen, I don't take any of it too seriously. I just have fun listening to it. So anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that. College baseball. Let's look at the college baseball real quick. We'll look at the rankings. And we'll look at and by the way, the college softball does get kicked off. All those tournaments that or those regions that I mentioned, it gets kicked off on Friday, I'm pretty sure. As far as the rankings in baseball, UCLA stays at number 1. Carolina stays at 2. Georgia Tech still at 3. These games still aren't we still haven't gotten into the conference tournaments, which ought to be coming up here next week, I would think. Georgia, Rick's Georgia Bulldogs, at least in football, move up to 4 from 5. Auburn moves up a spot. Texas drops a couple of spots. Oregon State moves up 3. Southern Miss up 4 spots to 8. West Virginia up 6 spots. West Virginia with a bullet. They move up to 9. Texas A&M drops 1 to 10. Florida State up 3 to 11. Arkansas up 5 to 12. Mississippi State drops 3 to 13. Kansas, you know, so I do this math so quickly in my head. It's pretty impressive, right? Kansas drops 7, to 14. Unless you were looking at this, you wouldn't know if I was right or wrong. Ole Miss moves up 5 to 15. Oregon drops 3 to 16. USC again. USC and Arizona both. Arizona dropped a little bit this week. Arizona moved up, or USC moved up 1 spot. It's good to see USC and Arizona back. These are classic baseball programs, historic baseball programs. Again, I mentioned the 60s and the 70s. These guys were the standard bearers, you know, like Texas became, and LSU, and you know, UCLA today. But those were the guys that were putting out, you know, they were winning national championships year after year, or in contention year after year, and putting guys into the major leagues by the bucket. Anyway, Alabama drops 1 to 18. USC was 17, by the way. Alabama moves up 1 to 18. Florida moves up 2 to 19. Coastal Carolina, big drop. They've lost a couple of games here. I think they've lost like 3 in a row. They dropped from 8 to 20. Biggest drop of the week. Oklahoma State moves in from unranked to 21. Arizona State drops 6, as I mentioned earlier, to 22. BC has dropped 1 to 23. Nebraska up 1, and Cincinnati into the top 25. So pretty soon we'll be getting started with the conference tournaments. Then we'll get regional play underway in the NCAA men's tournament here near the end of the month. Some interesting juniors coming up. Son of Frank Thomas, son of Manny Ramirez. Where are they? Are those guys playing in college today or in high school? Where are they, Chris? If you know, I don't. What else is going on in the world of college sports? By the way, it's still in college baseball. Georgia, I mentioned, moved up before. They also clinched the SEC regular season title. UCLA did lose this past week, but has not fallen out of that top spot. There are some highlights. I don't have them on the right computer to be able to show you guys, but to Rick's point, there's been some great play and great defensive play in college baseball this last month or so. There was I must have seen about 6 videos, and if I pulled it up on the right computer, I would have shown you guys a few of those plays. But tremendous stuff, including one in that in UGA's last game. So they wrap up the regular season title. UCLA run towards perfection. The Big Ten is over, as they did lose a game. They were trying to improve to 25-0 in conference play, but they fell just short of 30-0 as they lost to Oregon here this past weekend, I believe. Louisville's I have no idea how to say his first name. Tagu, the great Ragu. Tago Davis set a single season ACC record with his 32nd home run with a couple of homers this past weekend. He broke the record of J.D. Drew from Florida State, who became a pretty good Major League Baseball player in his own right, and Wake Forest third baseman Brock Wilson, who did it in 23. J.D. Drew did it in 1997. Kansas trying to wrap up the Big 12 with a 4-game lead there. Old Dominion, as we talked about, I didn't talk about them, but Coastal Carolina dropped 2 out of 3 to Old Dominion this past weekend. This first series they've lost at home since April of 2024. What else? Texas A&M hit 7 home runs in a game here. Only 7 innings as that game was stopped by acclamation, or I guess the mercy rule, if you will. Arkansas State's Kyler Tengler threw a 9-inning no-hitter on Tuesday. Need only 93 pitches to do so as they beat Little Rock 12-0. Pittsburgh's lost 6 straight ACC games. They probably are not going to get an at-large bid to the tournament. They're now 28-21. They'd have to win the ACC tournament, most likely, to get in. The Big East will come down to the final weekend. St. John's, UConn, and Xavier all tied at first with 13-5. The Big West is going to come down to probably a 1-bid league, unless somebody other than Santa Barbara, you see Santa Barbara wins, as the rest of that league is not that strong. So there you got some news and notes from college baseball as we get ready to head into the NCAA tournament. NCAA teams like Princeton and Vanderbilt should have their players wear bow ties on top of their hats. Why? Vanderbilt, by the way, not in the top 25, but historically a pretty strong NCAA baseball team. Hello, Danny. Good to have you with us. We were just talking about your UCLA Bruins losing their run at a perfect Big Ten season in baseball. Their run stops at 5 games short of a perfect season as they lost to Oregon here this last week. Yeah, I get it. Undefeated seasons, though, are something special. That's all I'm saying. If I'm not saying Vanderbilt, nobody's in the tournament just yet. Let's see, what's Vanderbilt's SEC baseball standings? Let's see where Vanderbilt ranks. All right, let's see what we can get here. Vanderbilt this year, as we speak. Okay, why am I not seeing them? Oh, there they are. 29-24. It would be doubtful that they're going to get a bid, Danny, unless they win the SEC tournament, which is unlikely because the SEC is loaded, right? I mean, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, all ranked. Arkansas is ranked. No, Arkansas. Is Arkansas ranked? I think they are. And they are only 11-18 in the conference too. So, and Georgia's wrapped up the regular season title. So you're probably right. Vanderbilt will not get in. They haven't missed it yet, but they'd have to win the SEC tournament to get in. Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma State, I believe, right? I know you're saying the state of Oklahoma. I believe, just for clarification, I think Pete Incaviglia went to Oklahoma State. He had a brother named Steve who also played college ball, was a third of the size of Pete, and played shortstop. Pete wasn't that big. He was a big guy, but like a fire plug, right? I don't think he was that big. He had a lot of home runs in his college career. Let me see. What are his? I'm going to say he's about 6'2", 6'1", 225. Pete Incaviglia. And he went to Oklahoma State. You know, he didn't have a bad career. He had a really good college career, though. Really good. I wanted to find his college numbers, but they're not coming up here really quickly. He managed up here in Troy, it was right down the road before we moved up here to Half Moon. When we lived in East Greenbush, it was a couple miles up to the Joe to watch the Tri-City Valley Cats when they were Houston. They were affiliated with Houston before those 40 teams got dropped. They were independent league baseball for the entire 4 years. I think Pete Incaviglia managed Valley Cats, and I believe they won a league title there as well. So who knows? You might see Pete again in the minor league realms, and who knows? Maybe even in the major league some days. Who knows? I mean, I would think, Danny, that your UCLA Bruins are going to go into this NCAA tournament as the morning line favorite, right? I wonder if I can see. Let's see. Odds to win. If I could spell college. Let's see. Stay on baseball for a little bit here. What do you say? As of May 2026, so UCLA Bruins were plus 550. I'm sorry, 500, plus 500. Oh, no, plus 550. Georgia Tech plus 600. Texas is plus 900. Mississippi State plus 950. North Carolina plus 1,100. A&M plus 1,200. Pretty good. Pretty good. Let me take a flyer on somebody. Maybe I'll make a future bet on the NCAA baseball tournament. Let's see what I can get for. Let's see. I'd like to find some value, right? So I can't bet UCLA because I got to lay 100 to win 5. That's not too bad though. Lay 100 to win 5, but if I got to run through a tournament, I like a little bit better value than that. So let's see who I can find here that I like. Where was it? Where did I have the? Here we go. Let's get back. I obviously somebody from the top 25 is going to win this. I could really tweak Danny and take USC, but. Hello, Paul. Good to have you with us tonight. Paul Spada. UCLA odds and 3 great pitchers should be the best odds. Yeah, they are. Not fall too far behind, though, by Georgia and UCLA or North Carolina. Arkansas. I was gonna look at Arkansas, and I wanted to look at West Virginia, who's been red hot. Arkansas College World Series odds. Right now they're at plus 1,200, which again, that's not terrible, right? So Arkansas is plus 1,200. West Virginia, who's been playing some great baseball. Now there's a good one. This is early 2026. I don't have odds right now. There's no way they're this now. They were plus 4,000 back in January and February. I don't have it right now though. If I can get into my, they're going to ask me to put in a code and all that. I would get into my DraftKings and take a look, but future picks. Let's hear Swami. Keith locks a week. Here's what I'll tell you. I would like, I think Georgia and UCLA win their conference tournaments. I'm not giving you any long shots there. So anyway, maybe we'll put a couple shillings on Arkansas. I like Arkansas. Danny, but even 500 is not terrible. Plus 500. That's not awful when you're going to be the odds-on favorite to win. And great pitching. Just for old time's sake, we should take a shot at USC. Take one of the old guard. What else going on in the world of sports? Danny, you got any comments on Lane Kiffin? We talked about Lane Kiffin's comments about, I want to talk about Lane Kiffin too. Lane Kiffin and Steve Scarsazian said this week different disses of the University of Mississippi. Scarsazian talked about the fact that you only needed to pass basket weaving to get a degree from the University of Mississippi. And Lane Kiffin talked about the difficulty. And you can say what you want about Lane Kiffin, but I got to believe he's not necessarily wrong about this, right? I mean, Jim Crow is dead. And anybody who wants to tell me that it's not, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. Are there some issues, though, still linger? Sure. And would it be difficult to get, the grandparents of a highly ranked black football player to go to Oxford, Mississippi in 2026? Probably. I mean, there are a lot of four-star players there, though. It isn't like you can't get anybody. But he's not wrong in saying that it's going to be easier to recruit those kids to Baton Rouge than it is to Oxford, Mississippi. So I don't think he's wrong there. Other Lane Kiffin news this week, though, he did talk about very candidly about the fact that he quit drinking, I want to say back in 2021, but that he had a drinking problem. How serious, I don't know, but he did say it affected his marriage and it contributed to the end of it. It does appear that him and his ex have rekindled their relationship, at least of what appeared by the end of last football season. And he's been very open about the fact that he had a problem and he did something about it. So listen, you got to give the guy a little bit of credit for that. But listen, again, when he first talked about this, you would have thought that, Oxford, Mississippi was still, flying. Well, you could find plenty of rebel flags, I'm sure, around Oxford, Mississippi. But, we aren't going back to the 50s and 60s here. So what do we got here? That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it, Chris. We'll do a little bit of research, potentially see if we can get you an answer, but I would have to guess in the world of college baseball, guys, you're not seeing a lot of guys go complete games anyway. So whether it's bullpen starter or just the fact that, you plan on pitching four guys that game and they're going to pitch 2 innings apiece, is probably a thing. And maybe Danny or somebody else knows better than I do right off the top of my head. Sarkisian can say whatever he wants. He just needs to pass the sobriety test. Apparently Lane Kiffin does as well. Again, by his own admission, he's had a problem. Scarsazian's had a problem, well documented in the past. Again, people have issues. If you overcome those issues and make yourself a better person, then I can respect you. When you don't try to fix those problems, then I don't. But, you know, I'm going to give him a pass on that. Because by all accounts, and unless somebody knows something I don't, Steve Scarsazian's problems in that area are well in his rearview mirror. Oregon has a 1% chance of winning the College Baseball World Series. That's a pretty good, then I got a pretty good number on that. I got to believe they aren't even going to get in if that's probably the case, Paul. When did I pick him in our football? Maybe I did. I don't remember taking him a lot this year, but I might have. I don't know. My memory isn't that good. I know that last year I was on Arkansas quite a few times, and they weren't very good. 2 years ago, I should say. We're getting pretty close to a new year, so last year is now last year. To alcohol, the cause and solution of all life's problems. No alcohol in here, water, I promise you. I did have a few adult beverages at my stepson's wedding on Saturday, by the way, which was very, a lot of fun. We had a blast. Congratulations to that couple I want to put out here today, Eric and Diane. And while the weather wasn't perfect and we couldn't have the ceremony outside as they wanted to, it was a beautiful venue up in the mountain, up on top of a mountain, the log cabin in Holyoke. By the way, Holyoke isn't exactly a thriving metropolis, but the D is very nice where we had the rehearsal dinner. It's all owned by the same people. The log cabin where we had the wedding and the reception, and their hotel facility, everything else is first class. The restaurant was first class. The venue was first class. Everything was first class. The food was great. The people were great. The service was great. The venue is beautiful. The restaurant is beautiful, first class. They got to work on that hotel. It's kind of small, and it's, you know, it's had some. It could be a really cool, charming little place if they just did a little something extra. But anyway, we had a great time. Keith dances behind off, which happens once I've had a couple of beers. So there's plenty of video of me almost falling over doing the wobble, which is a thing. My son-in-law happened to be right next to me. He's ex-Marine and still pretty strong. I just grabbed onto him and held on for dear life because I found out, because in a wobble you kind of just lean back and wobble. Well, I found out I can't lean. Anyway, we had a lot of fun, and it didn't do much for my golf game Monday and Tuesday though, because I played some bad golf, Monday especially. Played much better yesterday, but anyway, that's my life. Nobody cares about that. It's all those ex-USC guys. Yeah, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that job drives you to drink. I don't know. I mean, listen, Lane Kiffin, at least as far as we know, we don't have the, you know, Sark was out there partying with the sorority girls, for crying out loud. I don't know what else, but, you know, it's not a good look. Oh, she was. Rick remembers a video of my wife from a cruise a few years back, where the cruise director. We were 3 decks up, watching the party down at the main bar inside. 3 decks up, they're having a disco party, and she picked her up from three decks. And my wife had to do a dance off with somebody, so I got it all on video. Rick remembers that. But my wife's a good dancer. We had a lot of fun. Believe it or not, I can dance a little bit, but then I try to do things I shouldn't do, But we had fun. We had a lot of fun. So I missed a lot of the basketball. Friday night after the rehearsal dinner, I met my buddy Mark and his wife Karen in the bar. Couldn't watch a Knick game. We were watching on his phone for a little bit, but the game got out of hand anyway, so we stopped watching. But we didn't see much Saturday, obviously, and then Sunday only saw a little bit, so we had to catch up on things. But we're back, and we're on the road again to Rhode Island because my stepson, this kid is so smart. It's unbelievable. So he's already been to Miami for his undergraduate. He's been to Chapel Hill to get his doctorate. And now he's finishing up, or he has finished up, and he's graduating from the University of Rhode Island with his master's, his MBA, and we're going out because he is going to walk, and we're going to go out to that ceremony Friday afternoon. So we'll be taking a long ride to Rhode Island Friday. YouTube chat is where it's at. You're the only one in the wooden chair 3 feet from the stage. The YouTube numbers are popping up. I mean, we've gained since we started sharing clips and all that. I mean, the views have been up through the roof, guys, everywhere. A little bit down this past weekend because I didn't share Friday I didn't share the show. Sunday I didn't do a show, and I apologize for that. We'll be back on this Sunday. The MLB update will be at 9:30, but we had a bunch of views on YouTube for the MLB update live. So as I try to find a new home for it, it might end up being Friday morning. I don't know. But we'll talk more about that. But we are doing at 9:30 the MLB update again this Friday because we'll be leaving by probably 11 to drive out. But the numbers have been through the roof, guys. Thank you so much for helping. And the YouTube subscribers have jumped up like 50 in the last couple of weeks. So it's not where we are at, on Facebook where we're pushing 2,500 and on to 3,000, but it's starting to get some traction. What else was I talking about? With anybody, we talked a little bit about, speaking of gambling. Was I speaking about gambling? I was, with the odds on the college baseball tournament. Brendan Sorsby, if he enters, so you guys, I don't know if anybody here needs a quarterback in their NFL team. I don't. Danny doesn't. Rick, maybe. Who else is here? Paul, you don't. Chris is a CFL guy. I don't even know who Chris's NFL team is. Anyway, the question would be, if, it's a big if, Brendan Sorsby ends up in the supplemental draft in July. He's got till June 30th. And again, there's hurdles. He's got till June 30th to apply. The NFL then has to say, okay, you can enter. It's not like the NFL draft where you can just take anybody you want. You've got to get the okay to enter this draft. The question would be, does somebody take a chance on this guy and his problem and the distraction that could be coming into your clubhouse? And this is a guy who was projected to be one of the top quarterbacks drafted in 2027, potentially. He was probably this first or second ranked quarterback in the portal this year. He's probably done at Texas Tech before he ever plays a game there. So if he should enter the supplemental draft, do you take him? Number one, you don't give up a 1, a 2, a 3, maybe not even a 4. But if nobody's taking him and you're sitting there and he hasn't been drafted in 4 rounds, do you maybe take a flyer on the guy with a 5th round pick? Remember, you have to give that pick up in the next draft. I'm glad my team doesn't need a quarterback. The temptation would be great, but I don't know that I want this guy on my team. He bet on his own team when he was at Indiana. He didn't play at Indiana. He transferred to Cincinnati and really became a standout at Cincinnati, and again was one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal this past year. I don't know if I would take that chance, but there's always one dumb owner, right? And he's got talent. I mean, if you can get him in the 5th round, 6th round, he's first round talent as we speak today. So I'm curious. Really, the only guys involved in this conversation right now, Rick's the only one who maybe could be looking for a quarterback, and I think you're certainly not going to take him with a 1st round selection, a 2nd round selection, a 3rd, or maybe even a 4th, as I said. That's a little bit much. But if you're desperate and can wait until he sorts out his life, I don't know. Maybe. The NBA draft is coming up as well. Most of the guys that are going to be at the top of this list are likely going to be, young guys. I lost my, there we go. There's no Cooper flag in this draft, right? They're young guys, 1 year. They're Darren Patterson, Boozer, Caleb Wilson, DeBanza from BYU, but there's no Cooper flag in this draft. And after you get past these 4 guys, I mean, I like guys like, they all got faults. Darius Acuff has got some issues. He's an exciting player, but he's got some issues. Wagler from Illinois, not terribly athletic. Kingston Flemings. There's guys who will probably contribute to NBA teams, but none of these guys are locks. Once you get past the top 4, I think DeBanza, Peterson. Well, you got a creatine thing following him around. He brought the creatine thing himself. He thinks he was made sick by using creatine, which is, by the way, a performance-enhancing substance. Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson. I think both of these guys are going to be players in the NBA. But superstars? I'm not sure there's a superstar in this entire draft. And once you get past the first 4 guys, there's some serious questions about all these guys. Hello, Donna. How are you? Good to have you with us tonight. How you been? Isn't self-discipline stronger these days in professional sports? In the old days, after a bad game, you'd have a beer, shower, and that's the end of it. Now you're reading about yourself for a week. Well, I think some of the guys, and they say, some of the most successful guys, I think, say, and they do say it. Whether they practice it, I don't know. They don't read, the papers. They don't watch the sports reports in the towns they live in, the cities that they live in. I have a hard time believing. I don't know how you avoid it. How do you avoid it? You have to avoid social media. You have to avoid radio. You have to avoid the internet. You have to avoid everything on the internet. You have to avoid newspapers, television, radio. I think I said that already. But I don't know how can you not see it? And I'm not even sure they were great about letting it go then. I mean, you read some stuff, read Ball 4 and read the Bronx Zoo. And I don't think these guys necessarily were letting it go then. Some did. So, you're a Kyle Murray fan all of a sudden, Rick? It's interesting. Kyler Murray, sorry. I like JJ McCarthy. If I'm Minnesota, I wouldn't take him either. But if I'm any NFL team, if I needed a quarterback, right? I'm trying to think of a team right now. The Steelers are an interesting team to think about if Sorsby were to be in the supplemental draft. Do you risk that draft pick? Not sure. I like Cam Boozer, Paul, but again, he's not a can't miss Hall of Famer. I mean, he's not Wemby, he's not Cooper Flagg, he's not some of the guys that and he could become a great player. But there's no surefire thing here. Nobody is. Prospects are prospects. We call it for a reason. I say that all the time. But there's nobody that jumps out at you. Look at some of the guys that I've just disparaged a little bit behind the first four. Some of those guys are going to go on to have really good NBA careers. And Cam Boozer and that first four guys is a good bet to do so. And he might go one. I don't know. I know Washington loves a BYU kid. Peterson might fall out of that top 4 or 5 because of what he's talked about. But a lot of question marks below those top 4 guys. Thank you for those birthday wishes for my beautiful wife. My much better half, as I said. Posted a bunch of pictures with the family and her and I in different locales. But she had a nice birthday. I'll speak for her, right? She got rid of me for 4 hours while I played golf. She got a massage and did a couple of her own things that she likes to do. And then we went out to dinner and took my son-in-law and stepdaughter and my grandkids to dinner last night with us, and Papa picked up the bill. Jets are an interesting place, right? And Jets, Pittsburgh, Miami. Again, I know they signed Malik Willis, but that's not a sure thing. I think there's a few teams that could use a guy like that. And again, you can't count on him. But again, where do you take him, Rick? Where do you give up? If nobody's taking him in 6 rounds, do you give up a 6th round? Do you do it in the 4th round because you think somebody else might take him in a 6th round pick? I mean, 4th and 5th rounders in the NFL draft you still get a lot of valuable players there. So you're giving that pick up in the next draft. So that's the other piece of it. Say you're the Jets and you think, I'm going to take a flyer. Now, remember, they took a flyer already this year on Clay Klubnik, too, with a 4th round pick, right, I think. Are you going to use another 4th rounder on Sorsby and lose your 4th rounder next year? Because, again, they can get some good players in those rounds in the NFL. That's where you start to win championships. When you find gems past the 3rd round, and there's guys there, I can name one for you. I can name more than one, but you know what I mean. So which one do you give up? You just wait. If he's there in the 7th round, you 7th round pick you throw away. I can see that. Not sure. July we're going, Donna. We're around mid-July. I think we leave on the 8th. We're in Seattle for a day or two. I don't remember. And then we're off to Alaska. So I'll post plenty of pictures. I promise you. It should be beautiful. A beautiful trip. Can't wait. Really excited about that. So thank you. We'll have fun. A little bit different views that you'll see when we do some live shows from there. I don't know. We'll do them again. It's all right now. I have found the internet is problematic again on cruise ships. We had a really good, I believe, really good signal this last time when we did shows. We were on, what were we on? Princess, I think. I think we're on Celebrity in July, where I believe I had some major issues broadcasting the shows live. I ended up having to go to Facebook Live, I think, to get it to work. Because you need a pretty powerful upload speed to run the StreamYards of the world, the streaming services. So we'll see how it goes. But we'll have some fun with it. What else? You know, what do you guys think about Danny? You may not have been here at the beginning. I mentioned Tom Moore at 87 years old, a bit of an offensive guru in the NFL. Had some really good offenses in Philadelphia. Worked with Peyton Manning with great success in Indianapolis and other. He's been other places. He's going to be an advisor to Kirk Ferentz and at Iowa. And I think even at 87 years old, Tom Moore probably has a better idea how to attack offensive football than anybody else that Kirk Ferentz has on his staff or has ever had on his staff. I mean, Kirk Ferentz has got to be the best football coach with like zero offensive knowledge that's been successful over a long period of time. He's the longest tenured coach. I think he's the longest tenured coach in Division I. He is in the Big Ten. And he's done it without offense, like ever. He's never had any offense. Imagine he's got that team to a playoff when there was 4 teams. He didn't do well. I'm doubting myself. Did he? Yeah, I think he did 1 year. Syracuse and Wake Forest to play week 1 in 2027 in Toronto. Pretty cool. I'm assuming at the Rogers Center or somewhere else. Whatever they call that place. That'd be pretty cool. Speaking of Syracuse, Syracuse basketball, Jerry McNamara and Rick Pitino are this close to putting together a game between Syracuse and St. John's at the Garden, I believe, this coming season, like to open the season. And Jerry has talked about coming to play an exhibition game, preseason game with his old team, the Siena Saints, here locally. So that should be interesting. He did take like 3 of his 5 starters along with him to Syracuse, so it'll be good for those guys to come back and get a chance to get a standing ovation. You know, it's funny. Jack keeps going back further and further in his coaching career, or even his athletic career. Because the other day we got back to his Little League experience, where I'm pretty sure they were probably still like leaving the glove on the field for the guy who was coming out to play defense next. You know, and they were all choking up the bat on the bat halfway up. Where do you want him to coach? The Jets? What other college sports news we got? You got anything else before we wrap it up here tonight? I don't want to miss stuff, but we talked about football. We talked about basketball a little bit. We talked about softball a little bit. They're getting underway, as I said, this weekend. Danny, how about this? I think you're still here. Speak up if you're here, Danny, because I got a question. Do you think what are the chances? And I'm not sure if this has ever happened. I think it's happened in basketball. In baseball and football, well, I guess it's not the same thing. Yeah, I guess the same thing. Because we don't have baseball teams, but baseball and softball is close enough. I don't know if a team has ever won. I'm going to check it out. Baseball won the College World Series and in the men's, and won the softball World Series in the women the same year. And UCLA's got a chance this year. They're going to go into the men's tournament as the odds-on favorite, most likely, unless they fall on their face here the next 2 weeks. And then the women are ranked 8th. And they play, I believe, Cal Baptist on Friday. Or in the first round, anyway. Let's see. Have college baseball. I'm almost there, guys. I don't type as fast as I used to. Same year. See how it did. Near misses. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, college baseball and softball teams have won national championships in the same year, though it's extremely rare at the Division I level. How about you tell me who they are? Because now they gave me examples of near misses. How about you tell me who the teams are that won? Oh, my God. No, now it says no, they have not. It says extremely rare. Then they give me key examples of near misses. Division I closest moments. Florida won the national championship in baseball, while the softball team was runner-up. 2010, UCLA won the softball championship, and its baseball team made it to the championship final but lost. So they were a runner-up. I don't know why they say it differently. Many schools possess both softball and baseball titles. Arizona, UCLA, Oklahoma, Texas. None have officially swept the Division I championships in the same season. UCLA with a chance to make history. Why did you answer yes? So I put in my question. The AI overview said yes. And then they give me examples of near misses because nobody's ever done it. Oh, my God, right? Speaking of Tom Moore, I've heard Scotty Bowman speak at 90. He was completely up to speed. I thought Scotty Bowman passed away. Scotty Bowman, a great coach. I would say most of his notoriety came from his time with the Montreal Canadiens, but also with the Red Wings. I believe he won a Stanley Cup there. Great coach. So it's interesting with the Canadiens playing well. Where else did he win championships? Scotty Bowman's 92 years old. God bless him. I really thought he'd passed away. I apologize, Scotty. Let's see where he won. Did he win anywhere else? Did he coach Buffalo? Coach St. Louis in 67 to 71. I believe that was their initial their initial years in the NHL. Then he coached the Canadiens for 8 years. Did coach the Sabres in 79 to 86. Penguins, Red Wings, and Team Canada on some international competitions. Let's see, who do you win? It's funny, that St. Louis team, by the way, I'm pretty sure they were an expansion team in 1967. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals their first 3 years. Lost. So he goes to Montreal. He wins 5 Stanley Cups in Montreal in 8 years. Buffalo, he had 5 playoffs appearances. Never. I don't think Buffalo's ever made it to a Stanley Cup, by the way. He won a Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh. He won 2 Stanley Cups in Detroit. He won 3 Stanley Cups in Detroit. God bless him. 9 total Stanley Cups for Scotty Bowman. I don't know how I got on that. Kathy Morgan. Kathy, what was her stock? Wasn't it Stockwell when I knew her? She got married. I've got to ask you, this isn't the appropriate place to ask you, Rick, but there's an interesting question I wanted to ask you about. I think her married name was Stockwell when I came through. A couple years after you. But I'd heard some interesting stories about her. I won't get into it here. You can say yes, if it's true. You know what I'm talking about. I imagine you do. Bowman, 92, yeah. 9 Stanley Cups. God bless him. If I wanted to watch a ball guy type on the internet, I'd watch a ball guy type on the internet show. Sometimes I gotta find these things out. I can't wait. Are those shows out there? Because I should start one. I was going to start a baking show when I gave up sports, remember? So maybe it'll be a typing show. Rockwell, Rick, that was her name. Yeah. I shouldn't say too much because I don't want to disparage people, but salacious rumors. I've already been, I got Shrek there who wants to frickin' sue me for slander. Slander's a spoken, right? We went through this once. Basement Bob, I got all these people want to sue my ass. The show's incorporated, so you're not getting nothing. Oh my God. What else? Let me look at some other news here real quick before we go away. We talked last week about the expansion to 76. What a freaking joke in college basketball in the tournament. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I don't need 14 teams from the SEC in the tournament. I said this last week. I'll say it again today for those of you who weren't here. 64 teams needs to be the number. No more. You can take as many guys as you want. You can take another 24 or whatever it's going to take. Give again, I think I came up with 24 last week so you want to get 12 teams in. So you take it down to 52 at large and automatic bids, right? 52. Take 24 more teams or take as many as you frickin' want. Right? These numbers can be wherever you want, but 64 has got to be the final number for the NCAA tournament. All these other teams are playing in. Give them a play-in tournament. Don't care. I don't care if you have 24 teams. I don't care if you got 124 teams. There aren't that many. Yeah, there are. Take 124. I don't care. But they aren't playing in the NCAA tournament until they get to that field of 64. Don't tell me that, West Cheyenne State won their first NCAA tournament in school history, NCAA game in school history when they won in this play-in frickin' tournament. So give me 64. Do whatever you want to get to 64. I don't care. But don't call it the tournament. Right? Is that fair? If we have to do this nonsense, let them all in. But don't call it the NCAA tournament until you're down to X number. Man, again, they're killing the Golden Goose. Killing it. They probably should have stayed at 32 or 48, right? But more is always better. You'll kill it. College football killed that tournament when they started letting 24 teams in. Danny talked about it, and Danny must have popped off because I was asking about the UCLA. Anyway, UCLA's got a chance to win dual national championships this year. But Danny mentioned it earlier about the tournament. I mean, you're getting close to being a participation tournament at some point. When I'm going to let teams in that are 14th and they're going to be 500 or worse, there's certainly going to be a bunch of teams that had 500 or worse records in their conference. Don't matter. Nobody's ever going to listen to me. By the way, speaking of ruining sports, the streaming situation gets worse and worse in every sport. I mean, I can't find the Yankees half the time. Football, you're going to have about, 6 different subscriptions to watch every game. College basketball now has joined that world as Duke has signed a deal with Amazon Prime to broadcast 3 of their games. So, I'm all for capitalism and money being made by everybody. But we have to find a way to be able to watch these games. And in some cases, it's about, I said this about all the sports, right? We talked about this on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness and maybe even an MLB update. This is a problem on many different levels. For some people, it's about money. They can't afford it. I get it. I don't have a problem. I can get what I want. No, we're not rich, but we're fine. I can get as many subscriptions as I want. Problem is, I don't know where to go watch stuff. I can't find the games. It's like I've missed 2 innings of a Yankee game before I find them that night. I've missed the first quarter of a playoff game the other night because the Knicks were on Prime when I thought, oh, that's why we couldn't watch them at the bar at the D in Holyoke because they weren't on NBC or ESPN. They were on Prime. So we had to watch it on our phones. Now college basketball is heading the same direction. We've already seen it in the NCAA tournament, right? I mean, these games are farmed out because the same broadcast company owns all of it. We got to get off here after this, but games are on CBS, they're on TNT, they're on TBS, they're on True TV. I go to HBO and watch all the games are there. Anyway. Well, that's true. That's true. That was an expensive night anyway, but we paid for the rehearsal party and then I had to have a few with Mark. So in any event, guys, it's been a fun night. We'll see you next week. I don't know. We might do shows right up until I go away to Alaska. I don't know. We'll see. But at some point we will slow down. Guys, have a good night. We'll see you on Friday morning with Jack. We'll see you Friday morning with the MLB update. And then Sunday, of course, with the Stream of Consciousness. Just have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.